Then, welcome. Today we are on Deep Funding Town Hall. It's August the 10th, and we are doing a breakout session, introduction into Deep Funding. To myself, I'm Felix, one of the SingularityET Ambassadors around in the space here since a while. Very happy to be in Deep Funding since its first funding round as well. Funded proposer from round 2 as well. And we have Rafael with us, who's the lonely fighter of Deep Funding, actually the only person yet fully employed there. So we will back a little bit on the QA. What we will do first is we go 10-15 minutes through a slide deck, where we go over some very high-level, easy overview on Deep Funding. And after that, opening up the QA sessions then. Hey, Tony, nice to see you, man. So with that, I share my screen. Tick, tick, tick. You just joined in the perfect time, Tony. We just started the introduction into Deep Funding session. So very first, sneak peek, Deep Funding Academy. It's not the official thing yet. I proposed the idea first in Deep Funding Governance Round 2. Was some cool feedback, and bootstrapping with this education actually a little bit the thing. Rafael.
Yeah, sorry, you have some windows in front of your presentation.
Yeah, I don't know how to get rid of them, actually. We can cut it out maybe later, but if not, it's nice to see it as well. But shit, yeah, try to... Can I get rid of them? Most likely not. Yeah, let's leave it like this. I think I have to change something. Okay. Introduction into Deep Funding. Round 3. One important thing to mention already. Everything what you learn now might be outdated already in next funding rounds. Deep Funding is still a very young program. Everything you learn is in full development and in progress, and things will change a lot, and ideally by your contributions as well and your insights over time. Then, very first, what is Deep Funding? At the first hand, it's an innovation fund to support SingularityNET's growth. On the other perspective, it's a community playground to explore decentralized governance systems in action and not only in theory. And on the very last hand, it's a community capacity builder, which is able to cultivate SingularityNET and Deep Funding experts over time. Where is Deep Funding? There are two main platforms. Right now, we have the Deep Funding website, which will, in a later stage, also replace a lot of the stuff what is currently going on the platform, on the proposal platform, which is currently Sway. These are the two main platforms where really, let's say, everything officially happens on Deep Funding. Then we have the community hubs like Discord, Telegram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, where a lot of community engagement, participation, and stuff happens. I added a link to the slide deck later in the Zoom chat as well. There are hyperlinks on here. You can visit them all. Then, like mentioned already, Deep Funding is very early, still a very young project, a little bit older than 1 year now. And Deep Funding itself is designed in cycles. Means it's an iterative and evolving mechanism, starting small, and some of you know it already from similar projects like Catalyst. You start small, you learn, you improve, you adapt, and step by step you're building up from phase to phase in Deep Funding, the funding rounds. The whole cycle is, there's some more steps, but we look at it on a really high-level perspective. A funding round usually starts with the proposal submission, where community members come and are able to submit proposals. Once the proposals are submitted, they are locked, they can't be edited anymore, and now the proposal review heads in, which Deep Funding Round 3 brings a lot of innovation in this regard as well, and first experiments with milestone reviews, proposal eligibility reviews, which was also already gone through the case. And after the review is done, it goes into the voting period. This is the time where the community comes now and votes on the reviewed proposals with the HIX power. Right? to this we come later as well, to the voting. After the voting happens, what usually starts then, we have the results and the onboarding of the awarded proposal starts. So funded proposals now get onboarded into the process of the implementation of the proposals. Once this is done, then we move over, I change the window for a second, into a governance round. Usually in between funding rounds, there are governance rounds, and this is a period where the deep funding team and the community ideates on changes and improvements for the next funding round, which are then implemented. That's so far on the high level a little bit. For sure, there's much more in between steps and whatnot, but from a high level, that's pretty much it. Then Deep Funding has several roles as well, where community members can participate and engage. The most previous one, for sure, the proposers, which directly causes already that you have also funded proposers. Proposers are people and projects who submit proposals in Deep Funding. The funded proposals are those who are successfully voted and awarded. Then we have the proposal reviewers, so community members who review the proposals. We have focus groups, which are also newly introduced in Deep Funding Round 3. So communities members who engage in specific topics around Deep Funding, in this regard, for example, in governance topics. And for sure, you have the voters, means HAX holder who vote on the submitted proposals. The roles, as right now, there will very surely over the next months and years come a lot of different roles and groups and whatnot into the process. That is how it stands right now. And then for sure you have as well the engaged community members who are on sway, giving feedback to proposals, asking questions and whatnot. Then, great question, where the fuck do actually the funds come from for Deep Funding? In this regard, it's very simple. It's SingularityNET has a phase 2 token allocation, which is called. And from this, which outlines a little bit the token minting over process of, I think, roughly 100 years. And 30% of these funds are allocated to Deep Funding. On the link later, you can learn more about phase 2. There are lots of material where you can dive into, blog post as well as white paper. And from these tokens, then there are specific allocations to each Deep Funding rounds. Then this regard. For example, the first funding round, which started early last year, had a very small budget. Round 2 had a larger budget. Round 3 has now we're on 1.5 million US dollar in HAX. You see already how it's leveling up. And Deep Funding usually handles this really step by step by making sure the systems are in place beforehand to be able to handle larger amounts then as well. But yeah, the funding is really coming from this token allocation system. Then the question, how these funds are exactly allocated in each round. In this regard, we mostly really look on the proposals. So we have a total funding budget. And in round 3, it's 1.3 million US dollars in HAX. These are separated in different pools. Right now, we have 5 pools. One is new projects, another one ideation, marketing, tooling, and request for proposals. And each of them have their own budget, as you can see as well. From these budgets, then the funds move forward to the awarded teams, to the funded proposals. There are as well budgets for engaged community members, such as reviewers or feedbacking or like this contributions. But here we really mainly look on the largest chunk of the funds, which really covers the proposals themselves. Then again, just outline on the pools. This is just important because you have the links here where you can go on all the pools. So if you have the slides later, you can easily access them and have a view there. And then as we speak so often about pools, we have a look already what is a deep funding pool actually, exactly. So a deep funding pool is a unique problem statement. If you go, for example, on Sway, and you can see that each pool provides a very unique topic or area with a specific problem which has to be addressed. So, and they are very different, right? It's not like, you have an idea of a proposal and you can submit it in whatever pool. In this regard, no, you should really figure out what is the pool meant for? What does it actually address? And which solutions are you able to provide them? It's a sub-fund as well, like shown in the previous fund as well, because each of the pool has its own dedicated budget. And it's cycle-based. That means pools may change from round to round, and pools which we have in this funding round might not forcefully appear in the next funding round. So this is something what most likely will still keep changing. And yes, so let's say some of the most important criteria on the funding pools. And here's some key dates for round 3. Right now we are on the submission phase, which ends on September the 4th or the 3rd. I think I mixed them up. I think it started on August 3rd and ends on September 3rd. Sorry for this, have to correct it. Once the submission period is done, we have the review period, which then transitions into the voting, and then voting preparation, which transitions then into the voting execution. And on October the 20th, there is the scheduled announcement on the awarded proposals. So that's pretty much it. I wanted to make it short and concise. This was the first initial bootstrap from DeepFunding Academy. We will submit a proposal, most likely as well, in DeepFunding round 3, to make sure we are able to onboard, educate, and train people specific to roles, like how to become a proposer, how to become a reviewer, how to become a voter, to provide some really easy guidance and education for community members to engage and to take initiative in specific roles. And that's pretty much it. No, we still have, because we went quite quickly through the whole, we have a bunch of time for open questions. I take the link from the slide deck as well, put it in the live chat here. And for any questions I can't answer, very happy to have Rafael with us. Yeah, in the Zoom live chat, you have the links. And first hands up, Tony. Human assistant to DG's. What the fuck is this for a name? That's a cool name. I know you're Tony, so please go for it.
Well, let me introduce DJ Squircle. So my first experiment with ChatGPT was, what should I ask it? And so DJ Squircle is my bedroom DJ hobby. And I said, who is DJ Squircle? And ChatGPT said, he's a escaped AI who might be a cousin of Baby Yoda. And I was mind blown. So it sort of snowballed from there. Like over the past 6 months, just experimenting. And that's where the projects we have sort of evolved from, just experimenting with GPT and Midjourney and wondering how the future of social works with decentralized infrastructure. And specifically identity is kind of where I'm coming from. But the question I have is, I was trying to understand the proposal and the funded proposal sort of process. And it says the first thing you do is like onboard into the ecosystem. And I was looking at the website trying to understand like what that means. Like, if I'm building this sort of Slack room based choose your own adventure game with AI narrative storytelling, like, do we integrate to use the token? Like, what might that look like?
That's actually depending really on the proposal, what you aim for. Like onboarding usually happens, you have in deep funding a milestone-based funding, which means the proposer themselves have already to provide the milestones on the proposal. Then really depending on which challenge. If you go in tooling, for example, it can be whatever actually in this regard. When you go in other challenges, they are very specific, focused as well on onboarding services on the SingularityNET AI marketplace, which then means, okay, you can interact, for example, through API calls or whatever in this regard, and actually build your own service, app, whatever, and host it on the SingularityNET marketplace. That's a little bit the business model and the idea behind SingularityNET. Support people to launch products, software, services, whatnot, have them hosted on SingularityNET marketplace and handle API calls through HAX tokens, for example.
So I looked at the projects that exist, and it seems like a lot of them are super deep AI things, like new foundational models. But I did see examples of that, kind of in the lists of examples you provide, where you say things like games So say you're a game and you're just using AI to do like experimentational stuff, but like for end users, what would integration look like for a game? For a game,
Can I answer that, Felix? Okay. So Tony, yeah, that's a good question, because sometimes we might get confused with what type of service. Is the game a service itself? Difficult it will be, because you have to have an AI service, right? So what I would say is, for your game, it can generate a knowledge graph, for instance, from what happened in the game, and then you would be able to sell that knowledge graph that was generated as an API call. So there you would have the AGIX being used to pay for the services. Not exactly having the game itself by being sell.
Well, what if the game was using services from inside of the ecosystem? I don't want to build a service for other, like that's not our business model. Like we want to build a game, right? For people to enjoy and learn stuff, not sell the data generated by that game. That's almost antithetical to my like way of building.
That's the second option that we have in those rules. One is you providing the AI service, and the other one is you consuming the AI service. So if you fit in any of these two, you are going to be eligible to being awarded. Okay.
Got it.
However, it has to the service has to be already onboarded, or at least in the process to it, in order for you to connect and consume that particular AI service. But if you, in our portfolio, you are able to find such a service, or you can do it differently. You can have a partner that are going to provide you the AI service. He is going to apply, and you are going to apply by consuming that AI service, and then can go even better for both of you. So just a few strategies that can be used in this case. Okay, but it's for the new project pool. Okay, it's only one of the 5 pools that you can apply. But as I understood your idea, it would go in this direction.
Yeah, it's very much a new project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, would love to see more games in our platform, definitely. Consuming our providing.
So I've been experimenting with LangChain to sort of orchestrate just stuff. Does that work with this ecosystem? I'm guessing it does, but I'm kind of new to this, so.
Yeah, I couldn't say at this point because I'm not aware about what you said again, please.
I can comment on that. On that. So there is actually a project. There is a project that was funded that is actually working on that integration as we speak. It's not done yet, but a lot of the work is being worked on. On your previous question as well, I mean, to be honest, if you have a microservices architecture of the game, it will be actually easier to apply to this, because you can take some modules of the game that are AI oriented, and you can host them with SingularityNET marketplace, and then call the API for your service that you already provided. I know it's like a bit of a turnaround, but it's still something interesting to do, because you're on one hand you're putting one service on the marketplace, and on the other hand you're utilizing it, which brings up the use case of the platform itself. So that could be one thing to do. That will make you eligible for the pool as well.
Got it. Okay. I don't want to hog up all the time, but thank you.
But it was a good question, definitely.
And also one thing I would recommend, for example, about a game, you need some quite serious resources. But I would highly recommend don't go with a large budget proposal in the beginning, especially when it's a really, let's say, new project. Think about funding cycles. First proof of concept round 3, MVP around 4, version 1 around 5, for example. So try to build your project's road and your roadmap according to different funding cycles. So you don't have to ask, for example, right now for, let's say, 100,000 or 200,000, which makes it very unlikely maybe to get funded. Or let's say 400,000. Try to stay with small budgets on the beginning. Build already first proof of concept, get the community already aware, hey cool, the guys deliver, and as more easier it will get for you in next funding rounds as well to come with follow-up proposals.
No, that would work for us, because I mean, game might be a little bit generous. What we want to do is use the generative AIs to do choose your own adventure stories, using hallucination as a sort of feature. And we've already wired into a Slack room. So it's really like I'm trying to create a place where we can experiment with different models and different memory strategies. So if we could wire into models that were provided as service inside there, like that's sort of what we want to do is, like, can you be a dungeon master model? Like, okay, you can like reliably like maintain this narrative over some time, which is, as we know, kind of already challenging with these things. So you do like vector storage and, so that's our idea. But then we want these, if you look at our Doujin master proposal on Catalyst, I want to start seeing if we can use functions to do things like make payments, right? Like you did this quest, here's some shit coin, right? Some Squircle. So we've kind of been experimenting with this in Slack, and we want to, just continue adding people in. So would that be a new, like, would we be able to submit one just like as a consumer of the different services, and then get the funding to like pay for those API calls and building those integrations?
Yeah, that would be the goal for the funding, right?
Okay.
To even build the tool itself or the solution itself, not only the integration, but it has to have this interface to be eligible. Another point Felix kind of brought here, I'm not sure, I lose a bit Felix, but we have the ideation pool as well, where you could apply to design this process or this idea of yours. And as Felix mentioned, to be already in touch with the community, getting inputs, insights, and for the next round being
I do that stuff in my spare time, right? I just build stuff, right? Like I need to write a proposal about writing a proposal. Like we already onboarded 18 people. We built them AI avatars and learned a lot about how emotionally connected people get to that process, which was really fascinating. Now I want to basically productionize the Slack room where instead of running the LangChain orchestration from my laptop, put it in the cloud, and then we'll just wire a bunch of agents to like tell stories or be characters. And it's kind of like that Stanford experiment, but in a Slack room. Okay. But trying to like get more people access to like configure their own things, because it's quite easy with LangChain and Python. I haven't coded in like over 10 years. But when I did, it was like Perl and Java on Emacs, and it sucked.
Wow. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, so hard to find Perl devs. This is good.
But yeah, it's so much fun with I'm using like new dev tools, and it's like, holy shit, coding is fun again, right? I'm not chasing down null pointer exceptions and weird HTML.access files.
10 years I haven't done a lot on developers like that, for sure. Yeah. And Tony as well, like, I think in the next weeks we will definitely host some how to propose in Deep Funding. We'll also provide some one-to-one sessions for people, projects interesting to join Deep Funding and to propose them. And happy to help and to guide a little bit through the process, maybe break it down also a little bit. What we see very often is like ambitious programs come with a whole suite of actually use cases, and different pieces and parts. And what makes very often sense as well is explode your project. Look, what are actually the main building blocks? And submit proposals rather for the own specific building blocks rather than for the whole thing. And start this then step by step. That's something what we learned from Catalyst as a very effective thing, especially for larger projects with a really high complexity, actually.
Yeah, so we've done that for Catalyst, and I want to bring some of this here because we broke it into little pieces. So that would be awesome to talk about next week. You know, like we want to first build Falcon A Quest, right? FAQ for customer support. And like we've already built some of him, right? And I okay, I can do some basic like talk to a PDF stuff. Then we want to build Zoe Austin, who will like monitor all the storytelling going on and like write news reports. So like PR marketing, right? And then we want to do the Doujin Master and see if we can't get him to like maintain a narrative over time and, you know, different memories with different players, right? Like, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see if any of these AIs can actually do those three things reasonably well.
Looking on your roadmap there, I'm really interested in self-sovereign social graph. I think that you bring a lot of your experience in Atala Prism as well.
Yep.
From the past. So
yeah.
Cool. Nice. Then,
So is this every week this time? So next week there will be a breakout session for looking at in 2 weeks?
yes, but maybe Rafa, we can check in with this because until focus group takes time to reschedule the governance calls, because usually we have 1 week town hall and the follow-up week in the past we had this governance calls where community comes together to think about how to improve and do stuff at DeepFunding in general, which is currently on hold because there's a new initiative like setting up focus group. And right now we have this empty slot between the town halls. So maybe we can do something funny in between as well, especially now as DeepFunding Round 3 starts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What I am aiming is to have weekly, potentially, okay? To have weekly town halls, but just before the voting, to have more projects being presented for voters and members to get in contact and so on, rather having the Q&A about the program itself, using these slots that the governance call left. Yeah. But we have to discuss it, yeah, until having it.
Well, yeah, just add me. Would love to continue to join and get involved. So I'm no longer at IO. I've been like, you know, I left about a month ago. So like I'm running full steam and did this whole experiment of, you know, can you work for a blockchain?
Now you join the other side, right? Before on the founding entity side.
I'm unshackled, you know. But it's cool, right? It's like this is the world we're talking about, where I can work for a community instead of for a venture-backed tech startup.
Are there other questions on DeepFunding? To some unclear topics. For example, I have a question, Rafael. Is there threshold for voter actually? Do you need to have, let's say, at least 10 or 1,000 or whatnot AGIX in order to vote?
You have to have AGIX in your wallet, but there is not a minimum for it. But you have to have.
And the voting happens only on Ethereum or also Cardano already in the round 3?
I'm going to say that we are going to go only for Cardano now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I know it's kind of because this is not something that I previously discussed. But yeah, I would say that it's on Cardano because we are aligning with the other token to have it. So absolutely.
So will the wallet tool be still used, or how would it work exactly?
Well, you can use. Well, you have a good point, Rojo, because you have to go on Sway, right? So, and the voting portal as well, to make the vote itself. So yes, we are going with Ethereum and Cardano at this point.
Nice, great.
And just to remember, which is something important, since we are discussing this, when you go in your account, if you are aiming for engagement rewards, also make the input of your Cardano wallet address in the right field to receive the rewards. Okay, in this sense, because the rewards itself will only pay for Cardano.
This is there you go on your profile on Sway once you have it. Then usually that should show stuff up. Yes, on edit. You have to go to edit, and here you can add your receiving wallet. And has to be a Shelly address, starting with address 1. Don't use stuff from whatnot.
Yeah, no, that's the it has to be the ADDR 1.
Fly, you have your hands up.
Oh, sorry, Fly.
Yeah, I got a little question. I noticed in the RFP number 3 for the memory augmented LLMs, at the end, you say, to avoid training from scratch, we propose to take a pre-trained SOTA Foundation LLM. Is that something that's recommendable for other pools?
Okay. Where are we again?
I've I've sent a picture within the Zoom chat here.
Chat. Okay. We propose to take a pre-trained no, if it's only on RFP3, it's only for the RFP3.
Sweet.
Yeah, because it's not in the proposal itself; it's in the blog post, right, Fly? This proposal here.
Let me find the source one sec.
That you took the print screen.
I'm just finding the webpage.
Well, considering that it's to avoid training from scratch, but that would be better to have the team that developed the RFPs itself to have a more clear answer than what I can answer at this point. But I can put you in contact with them, definitely.
I couldn't understand the question properly. What was the question?
If understood correctly, if it's that proposition, that suggestion in the RFP3, if it should be expanded to the other RFPs as well, right? The other 3, right, Fly?
Yes, or generally to the other pools. And I'm sending the link. Yeah, it was the blog post introducing the RFPs.
Yeah, because for instance, the first RFP, so if I'm not mistaken, is the knowledge graph, right? I don't think that would be suitable to the knowledge graph itself. Yeah. But again, it would be better to have the team that developed the RFPs to answer properly. It's the RFP.
I think you're on mute. Guillermo, if you're talking.
Who was talking?
I saw Guillermo's lips moving, but maybe he wasn't talking to us.
Okay, yeah.
No, sorry for that. I have a lot of noise here. My wife is fighting with the neighbors. So, yeah.
Join her. Fight them.
I'm following you guys. I'm following. And I'm fixing some code with my other hand. So, but still, I'm following.
Are there some other questions then as well on deep funding round 3 or deep funding in general?
Yeah, what's the plan and how long is Singularity considering funding deep funding? I mean, how many rounds are possible, or what's the runway on this thing?
Well, under the phase 2, we have that 1.5% of, that's going to increase. And as far as we have the fund coming phase 2, we are going to provide the rounds. So there is not necessarily a stop for the round, for the cycles to happen. Of course, we can reach to a stage where it's not needed anymore because it's self-sustainable. Initiatives and projects are receiving the enough revenue through the marketplace platform, and then we could only or mainly work on the onboarding new solutions, but not necessarily providing funding. So if I would answer, is we don't have a date for this to stop, for this process to stop.
Cool. So it's a pretty long expected program.
Yes, it's the long runway.
And if in an elevator speech, Rafael, 30-second, maybe 1 minute elevator speech, what would you say the ultimate goal of deep funding is? What is it that is wanted to be accomplished in, say, 3 years with deep funding programs?
Well, Deep Funding is an initiative from the SingularityNET Foundation to improve the decentralized AI platform that was created, right? So that's our purpose, basically. It's not about doing marketing, or these are accessories to this purpose itself. That's why we fund initiatives to onboard. And through the process, we discovered that some other initiatives like Marketing Pool sounds pretty reasonable and desirable to have, because we can then have more proposals and more initiatives onboarding. So it's an ever-growing process, initiative, and also self-sustainable in the sense of we can generate other initiatives to keep us alive in the AI services, of course, providing AI services through the platform.
So that's for the platform to kind of stock up the store so you can get AI. But I also notice, and I don't know, I couldn't tell from last round, that some proposers put in a percentage of earnings that'll go back to deep funding if they're funded. There were a few. I didn't track if they had a better chance of getting funded. Any comments on that?
Yeah, that's specifically for proposals that are asking high amounts, right, of funds, because it's riskier. It's more risky to invest in such type of initiatives or projects. So as a way, in a way that we could help these proposals to get through, we propose also to them, hey, if you are willing to, in a volunteer way, you have this 4, now we decrease it to 3. You have this now 3 options to propose the revenue sharing or equity, which we excluded, and other options as well. But always thinking about how the community will perceive the situation. If I would say that, hey, this was something that the voters waiting, like, hey, I wanna vote in you because you are doing this, not necessarily. Only if you are really not knowing if it's a good option, you say, okay, but they have this as a good feature, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to vote for it. But I wouldn't say that has much weight in the decision process of a voter. And I also have to say that I came after the round 2, right? But that was my analysis from this perspective of talking to people and also checking the proposals itself. So.
Another question on the voting. If I register my wallet to vote, I will vote with the whole HAX power in the wallet, right?
If I
register my wallet to vote on Deepfunding, let's say I would have, 500 HAX there, I would use the whole 500 HAX to vote on each proposal, right?
Yes, you can split it. Yeah.
Okay.
What happens is the quadratic voting, right? That might, if you have too much, it might not be that weight in your voting.
But then I just cheat the system and create several wallets. I'm just cheating. We cut this out.
It's the trade-off. It's the trade-off of the process. Yes. Unfortunately, in round 2, we had this situation where for the ideation pool, the whale that was there, even having the quadratic vote, the person was able to influence the pool itself. But in general, it's that's another type of solution to mitigate that we have to think about it.
Another question to the voting as well. Can I also downvote proposals or only upvote proposals?
You can only upvote, or you can. Now it was a good question because I didn't pass through the voting process yet.
I don't think you upvote or downvote. There is like this from 0% to 100%. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You have what's the name again?
Gradual voting.
The lever. The lever, right? To a percentage of the voting. And how do you engage? So you have 0 to 10. For the pools, you have to be above 6.5 to be awarded. Even if you are one of the top proposals to be voted, if you don't reach this 6.5 grade score, you are not going to be awarded. And you have to have at least 1% of the voters voting in your proposal.
For proposals, is there a minimum HAX amount they have to request, or can I submit a proposal asking for 5 HAX, for example?
You can, if you are able to deliver. But then we have another situation, right? During this process, we have as you mentioned there, we have the review period. And in this review period, you have the eligibility review process. So the people that are going to be involved, mostly from the community members, they will analyze several important situations of this proposal. And having 5 AGIX and promising that you are going to deliver the word might not be something suitable to be eligible. The same with the peer reviews, where you have the feasibility process or criteria, and this is not feasible enough to go to. But the peer reviews are most on the recommendation side and not the let's cut off this proposal as the eligibility process.
What are the things you are the most concerned about right now at DeepFunding, Rafael?
Low engagement for proposals, number of proposals, which would give us not perhaps the ideal quality as well. Of course, we can have fewer proposals, but having the quality, but that's not statistically what would happen, right? So that's, at this point, is the main concern. The second concern is what we already talked about the GPT use, which can bring some sort of generic proposals, and that can be eligible, be peer reviewed, not being recommended, of course, but it's going to be eligible, and then the community say, okay, it's a good one, and let's vote for it, and then it's going to not be good for delivery, execute the proposal. That would be the two main concerns at this point. There are minor ones that I also mentioned before, but those can be handled with work and effort, but those can be handled. Main one, let's increase the number of proposals into the portal. And also to remember, we are working hard to launch the next version of the proposals portal will be embedded in our website, our portal, for having it more streamlined and with a better flow for it. Because Sway, it's a very interesting tool. It attends a lot of our needs, but at the same time, they have to be more generic, right? To have more clients or more onboarded voting processes and missions and so on. And we need something more specific into it. Therefore, this can also bring some concerns of usage and how we extract those data, but nothing that's going to be missed, because we already use it twice. So we know about their limitations or not in that situation. So we are very aligned.
Is there a vision of DeepFunding to open source the DeepFunding architecture so that community could even build their own voting platforms and all communicating through the same backend?
Are you referring to open source the platform itself?
Mm-hmm. For example, just excluding, let's say, important user information like email addresses, wallet addresses.
Mm-hmm. And by the platform, you mean the proposals portal, right? Not the AI platform. Okay. No, not at this point. What we could, and I am willing to discuss internally, is the possibility of working more with APIs, right? That would be something more now we use WordPress to it. We have a developer, exclusive developer for it, and potentially making it more in this direction. Then we have to discuss the technical, of course, the technical feasibility of such situation. But it's something that I would love to see, having even the ability of having the community integrating tasks or developing tasks within our platform. That would be the truly decentralized process for us in the operation side.
It could be actually quite cool proposal for ideation pool. Ideate, design a decentralized concept or an open source concept for deep funding, right? Not going with any specifics, only ideate, design, bring some cool people together.
Indeed, would be something interesting to have it. Yeah, if it's in the ideation process, would be something that we would be keen to discuss indeed. And leveraging what we already have, at least the processes and etc., right? From the WordPress portal, which is something very important as well. I would say that it's 50-50.
Because speaking on this, an experience from Catalyst, which was closed source in 3 years, was really difficult for anybody to get actually to any useful data and to build community platforms, which can even accelerate and boost the whole thing. And finally this year, IoT started to, actually last year, end of last year, but this year was really first testnet and GitHub and everything. And the community screamed since years for it, and I actually ignored it. And I think this is, if you have a healthy and strong developer community at your innovation fund, making as much as possible open source just boost the shit out of your stuff then actually, right? Because now you have actually possibility to outsource a lot of the stuff, but you mainly right now have to do internally to the community.
Can you mention, sorry, yeah, please go on.
No, I finished.
Yeah, thank you. No, but can you mention or give some examples of proposals in the Catalyst, which the community say, hey, we want to do this, so for that has to be, the platform should be open source. What they are developing at this point?
Can give you some insights. For example, you have it's Catalyst Core.
There's an entire challenge category this round for it's open source.
Yeah, that's true. Lido would be a good example, I guess.
Exactly. Lido Nation is one of the people who actually started to build first platforms for active community members to engage and do a bunch of cool stuff and whatnot. Our own Catalyst Explorer. I posted a link to Catalyst Core, which is managed by IoT. So the custodian of Project Catalyst. And even when you look back in very early Catalyst days already, there have been open source challenges, developer ecosystem challenges. What actually was the very first one in Fund 2? Yeah, Fund 2 was 2021, very early. That came about the developer ecosystem, and then later there have been several challenges. For the community, though, IoT never really invited the community actually on the beginning. From round 1, 2, 3 was actually more open because it wasn't on Yarmongandra, for example, which is a sidechain hosted by IoT, so you don't actually have any insights on what the fuck is happening on the vote. Community could never verify themselves. Other votes actually recasted. And this was open until Round 3, and then they closed everything. And community was there to say, hey, wait, the fuck, we can't do shit anymore. And I think this is really a dangerous message as well to the community, because you have so amazing capacities there. And you block them actually by really engaging seriously, right? And then just over time, it creates a lot of distrust between the community and the fund operators then, right?
Yeah, to deal or to address this situation with the capacity that we know that there are a lot of capacity and expertise and quality within the community. That's why we created the tooling pool to leverage and having this opportunity to have people. But indeed, we are not that open sourced yet in order to have a full process into this. So it has to be bit by bit. As we are still in the round 3, we are experimenting and learning from the process as well. Another thing that's important to mention is that the decentralization process, it's amazing. All of us, basically, we are very interested in having it. But the process itself comes with some hurdles. And one of these hurdles is the length of the development and deployment of some situations or that we need, right? As I mentioned, at Sway, it's not necessarily exactly what we need, which even though they are a very good platform and solution. So if we would rely on the process at the beginning, when we are still learning and making connections and putting together, if we started to have this process coming from the community, we could have a lot of dependency on perhaps having more than a year to have something delivered and so on. Even now, I was answering a member in our Telegram today because he was questioning about, hey, what's going on? A lot of projects that were awarded are still not even in the end of, it's not even with the milestone 1 completed. And it's true, he's not wrong. We do have some projects with milestone 1 that's not delivered yet, but it's exactly because we understand that this decentralized process, it's length sometimes, and teams sometimes are not in the best way, but we are not going to be the ones pushing and going and pressing them and saying and pushing hard and say, hey, you have to deliver tomorrow or you are going to be cut off the program. Now imagine we open such important tools like our platform to vote or to as the portal for proposals to be delivered by the community. It's not that the community doesn't have the capacity to deliver, but we could be dealing with such a problem, for instance, as well. And then we were expecting to have round 4 based in our own platform, and it would happen in round 6 or 7. So even for strategy and to being more pragmatic with things, because we also have this accountability to the community to deliver a proper and quality service, would be difficult. But again, I agree that the open source is something really interesting to have and have multiple fronts operating and working with it. Okay, any more questions?
Seems that's around 1.5 hours as well. So nice timing. Seems that's it for today then. So I would, if there are any last questions, go for it now. If not, I would stop the recording and we wrap up the session. Newman, Grant, Tommy, Tony, Roger, any last questions?
No, thank you guys very much. I look forward to next week. I'll keep my eyes on Twitter to get the information.
Thank you for being here, Tony.
Would it be
Tony.
okay? I do have one question. Can I register in your ecosystem as DJ Squircle?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm trying to like create worlds where he exists and worlds where I exist, and try to figure out like how will AI assistants actually work.
And by the way, you asked it before, and I kind of missed the timing. But are you in our Discord, SingularityNET Discord?
I have Discord open on my computer.
So please go and join our server as well to be in contact and even to make questions and talk to us. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
More than welcome there.
Newman, sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's all right. I was just I was just going to reiterate. Fantastic to be here to listen in. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here, Newman. Yeah, always a pleasure to see a lot of people.
Great meeting. A lot of information. A lot of old faces and new faces. We even have a surfer in the room if he surfs anymore, but you know, you get old, you stop things.
Oh, he's playing guitar on his ship now. Awesome. But thanks a lot for joining, everybody. And hope to see you around. And wish everybody a beautiful end of the week. Take care of yourself. Make sure to take some off time from the screen. Get your legs out there in nature and whatnot.
Okay.
And stay awesome for sure.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.